What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we have Tennessee State's top 4, and in this top 4 we actually have a Night March mirror match. I know it kind of spoiled it kind of early, but on the left we have Scott DeGraw playing a straight Night March deck, no Milotic, no Glade, just straight. We've seen him on the stream before, but if you're wondering how does a Night March mirror match work, well, today we're going to find out. If you give me a second, we'll see the player on the right and see their Night March list. Alright, on the right we have Jason playing the Night March Glade deck. He uses the Maxis, the Glade to get out. And we're going to see which is better, the straight Night March or the Glade version. I think the Night March might be a little bit better, just like the straight Night March in the mirror match. Jason does have Glade to attack with and Premonition to help him out, maybe if he needs to. But we'll see what happens in this game. I'm not sure who's going to win, but we'll find out here in a second. Let's see how it goes. Alright guys, here it goes. Tennessee State's top 4. Like I said, on the left we have Scott DeGraw, on the right we have Jason. They're both playing Night March, but Jason is playing the Glade, while Scott is just playing straight Night March. We'll see how it goes. I'm not really sure how the mirror match works out. I guess whoever wins the coin flip kind of wants to go second to get the first one knockout. But let's see what happens. Jason will go first. He'd start a Joltik. It doesn't really matter who you start with because they're just going to get knocked out by Night Marchers. We see a town map. Ultra discarding a Lampet and a Joltik. Okay, and another Battle Presser coming down. Going to discard 3 cards out of his deck. I imagine that Shaman will go into his hand. Discards a Lampets, and a Hex Maniac. Turn 1 Hex is what you want to do in this matchup. If you are going first, you want to Hex your opponent, making where they can't play their Shamans, and you're good to go. Alright, we'll see how many Night Marchers discard pile. This should be plenty. Shaman setting up. And can he find a VS Seeker? There's a Trainer's Mill. Alright, it doesn't seem like he found a VS Seeker right now. There's a VS Seeker, and like I said, he can VS Seeker for a Hex Maniac, making where Scott can't use the Shaman's abilities. We see Pumpkaboo coming down, and DC to Pumpkaboo. Let's see what else. A VS Seeker, Puzzle Time, rearrange top 3 cards of his deck. Not sure what he put on top, maybe? I'm not sure, but there's a VS Seeker for the Hex Maniac, and then we'll probably see the Hex and a pass on the Scott's turn. And let's see, what does Scott have? There's a Fighting Free Belt to the active, give that Pumpkaboo 40 more HP. We see a DC to the active. Scott could take a knockout on this Joltik turn 1. And yeah, he's going to Battle Presser, discard at least 2 Lampets, take a knockout. Because Joltik does have 30 HP. So they're 1-2. And let's see, does he put a supporter card in the discard pile? Okay, a third Lampet comes down as well. Alrighty. And Scott, I think, has another Night Marcher in his hand. He needs a Dimension Valley, that's for sure. He needs a Dimension Valley to attack for the turn. We see an Ultra Ball discarding a Lysander or something else. Maybe grabbing a Joltik. Now, if you put down a Joltik in a mirror match, you need to make sure it has a Fighting Free Belt, because then your opponent is able to Sky Return, knock out a Joltik with the Shaman, and put a Shaman back into their hand, while also saving the DC, which is great. Okay, let's see. Does Scott find a Dimension Valley? That is the question. He's Ultra Balling, discarding a Pumpkaboo, and a Megaphone. Okay, Megaphone's probably not that worth it. We see a Joltik coming down. Okay. Let's see, what else does Scott have? Does he have that Dimension Valley or not to get the turn 1 Night March to knock out this Joltik? We see an Acrobike. Discarding an Acrobike, Trainer's Mill, and I don't see one. I see a Battle Compressor in his hand, and I think he whipped the turn 1 Dimension Valley to actually take a knockout this turn. There's a VS Seeker. Going to use it for the next turn. Maybe grab a Sycamore if Jason does decide to Hex this turn. And Scott's relying on supporter cards. And we might just see a pass. Scott's going to look at Jason's discard pile, see what's all in there. But I think Jason can easily take a knockout this turn. And yeah, we'll see a pass. So turn 1 whiff on the Night March. Wow, that is pretty crazy. But on Jason's turn, let's see. He has a DC into the Joltik. He has enough Night Marches in the discard pile. Maybe he doesn't. I think, is there only 3? 2040s. Is that 80 damage? Oh, man. Oh man, 20, 40, 60, 80. Yeah, it must be only 80 damage. That is crazy. So there's not enough Night Marches in his hand. It looks like Jason has a really, really bad hand or something. Like, oh my goodness, that is crazy. Night March not taking a knockout. Oh my goodness. Alright, so on to Scott's turn. He does have a VS Seeker, a DC going to Joltik. We see, looks like he's counting how many Night Marches in there. 3. So 20, 40, 60. That is a knockout on a Joltik. We see a Lysander. He's going to bring up that Shaman, retreat into the Joltik, and take a knockout while he can on that Shaman EX to go up on prize card. So he's going to go down to 4. Yeah, 20, 40, 60 times 2. I think there's actually be 8 or 4 in there. But his weakness, knocking out the Shaman EX. Scott goes down to 4 prize cards. And on Jay's turn, there's a Fighting Free Belt. Teammates going to get 2 cards out of his deck since the Pokemon was knocked out last turn. There's 1. And let's see what the other one is. I imagine 1 might be a supporter card for the following turn. And the other one might be like a Battle Compressor within his deck outs. Maybe. We'll see what he decides to get. There's a Battle Compressor for sure. Gonna discard a Joltik. Let's see, a Gallade, and then maybe a Maxie's. Nope, a Pumpkaboo. All right, so putting those 3 down. Wonder, okay, so we're gonna discard those. Oh, the Maxie's in the prize cards. That's where it is. Okay, and we might see just a Night March for the knockouts. Jason will go down to 5 prize cards, while Scott has 4 left. And does Scott have a DCE? He did retreat the Pumpkaboo, discarding 1 of the 4 DCEs. Here comes the Joltik in the active spot. And does Scott have Puzzle Time? Does he have 1 of his 2 DCs left? He hasn't played a single Puzzle Time. He hasn't played one yet that I know of. Looks like Scott is eyeballing Buddy Buddy Rescue. Gonna put the Joltik back into his hand. Looks like Jason's gonna grab the Shaman EX. And let's see what else does Scott have. Does he have the DC or not? And yep, there's a Flowstone. He got me there. But VS Seeker, gonna grab Sycamore and discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. Can he find the DC or not? Puzzle Time. Looks like okay. And then we'll see Sycamore discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. It looks like that Puzzle Time didn't really even do anything. But let's see what else does Scott have. There's a Acrobike, discarding a Pumpkaboo. Okay. Trainer's Mail. He has a Fighting Free Belt, Battle Compressor, Trainer's Mail in the top 4. Not sure what the 4th one is. Oh, a Dimension Valley. Hey, oh, there we go. There's a Dimension Valley that Scott needed forever ago. But that he didn't get. Okay, so let's see what else does Scott have. He's gonna put the DC on the Pumpkaboo, and then we'll take a knock. He'll take a knockout on the Joltik. Okay, so yeah, we'll see a knockout on the Joltik, and Scott will go down to 3 prize cards. Okay, and that's Scott's 3rd DC as well. So can he find the 4th one? Let's see. What does Jason have? He can't take a knockout this turn. There's a DC on the Pumpkaboo and a Dimension Valley out. Was he a VS Seeker? Probably for the teammates. I know he didn't look through his discard pile, but I imagine that's what he's getting since he immediately just grabbed his deck. I'm going to grab those 2 cards, and I wonder what they are. They could be 2 Puzzle Times. That's always really good with VS Seekers. Just like VS Seeker for teammates, 2 Puzzle Times. There's a Pumpkaboo, and there's a DC in his hand as well. So we'll see a Night March taking a knockout. Jason will go down to 4 prize cards. Okay, we might see Jason take like a Puzzle Time. Looks like he's gonna grab a Lampets. Yep, the Lampets. All right, on to Scott's turn. He has 1 DC left. Can he draw into a knot? There's a Battle Compressor. Go ahead and discard 3 cards out of his deck. And let's see, what does he get? Or what does he discard, I guess. Not what does he get. Yes, he gets it in his discard pile. I guess is a correct thing to say. The question is, can he get, 2 Puzzle Times, or I don't know, some way to get a DC? That's what he needs. Some way to get a DCE this turn is it possible. Discard a Battle Compressor and a Dimension Valley. Okie dokie. And, alright, can Scott find the DC? That's the question, okay? Let's see what else. Scott has a Shaman in his hand. He could put the Shaman down, set up. There's an Ultra Ball, discarding a Battle Compressor to Pumpkaboo. Gonna grab another Joltik. It looks like it's just gonna be Joltik Party Central. But like I said, that could be bad if Jason does get a Shaman and start like Shaman looping. I don't know. To save DCs if he wants to do that. We're gonna see a Shaman set up for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's the DC. So he does have a DC. He will at Night March take a knockout on this Pumpkaboo. But we know that Jason does have a DC in his hand to take a knockout on the next turn. So here comes the Joltik. We'll see a Night March going out of 2 prize cards. And there's a DC from Jason. Puzzle Time, going to read the top 3 cards of his deck. And there's a Shaman maybe coming down. Now, if he does put down the Shaman, it's going to leave Scott in a weird position where he can lights it up and take a knockout, which is not the greatest. There's an Ultra Ball discarding a Battle Compressor and a Trainer's Mail. And does he have a Night Marcher left in the deck? He should. Okay, yep, there's a Pumpkaboo coming down. I was just saying, he doesn't really need to discard that many Pokemon in this matchup, Both Night Marches don't have that much HP. Even with the Fighting Free Belt, it's not that high. And we'll see a Night March taking a knockout. And then once again, we're back in the situation. Can Scott find a DC? He is out all 4 DCs, if I remember correctly. And I think this is Jason's last DC as well. We see Shaman go into his hand. And interesting, it's not the puzzle of time. We're going to see Scott count Jason's discard prize cards, see how many left. And we're going to see Scott scoop the game. He probably realizes, like, hey, I can't get a DC out. I'm just going to lose. Maybe I don't have the the capability of getting out the DC. Maybe puzzle times are already gone. Or, I don't know, maybe he had a bad hand and he was scared, Jason had a life center next turn. But there we go. I mean, Scott kind of, at the start, he was going, but then Jason started, using VS Secret for teammates, VS Secret for teammates, VS Secret for teammates, and he kept getting everything he wanted over and over again, and that's really, really great. I don't think Scott even had teammates in the discard pile, which is not good, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, like I've always said, this is best 2 out of 3. Whoever loses game number 1 can either go first or second. It's up to them, and let's see what Scott decides to do. Does he go first or does he go second? I think you want to go second in the Night March mirror match. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what you want to do. But we'll see what happens. Scott is still shuffling. Just give him a second. Make sure nothing is too clumped together. All right, so he's going to, okay. And look, Scott's matching too. He's got the Snorlax shirt, the Snorlax playmat. That's pretty cool. But we're seeing Scott shuffle up one more time. Make sure everything is randomized to the maximum amounts. And let's see what happens in game number 2 of top 4. I guess, yeah, game number 2 of top 4. Alright, so we see both players setting up, giving those 7 cards. And let's see, does Scott opt to go first or second? And we see Jason mulligan. Alrighty. And like I said, I think you want to go second in this matchup. So that way you're trying to guarantee the first knockout. I think that might be the best way. Like I said, I'm not sure. Oh, man. All right. So see, Jason set up one more time. And we see another mulligan. Oh, man. Exactly what Night March needs. Mulligans to get more cards into their hand to make sure they get the best setup. All right. That's exactly what they need. All right. So we see Scott shuffle his deck up. And let's try one more time. Does Jason find a Pokemon or not? Okay. It looks like... Oh, man. Is that a Shaman start? Is that a Shaman start? That's the question. Oh, man, it's a Shaman start. Jason will go first, so it seems like Scott is going to go, I want to go second round. I think that's the better play. Like I said, we see a Battle Compressor from Jason. Going to discard 2 Lampents, and then maybe a supporter card. Looks like he's thinking about the 3rd Lampent. He's trying to decide. Does he put his Shaman down turn 1 is the question as well. Let's see what he gets. He could put a teammates in discard pile turn number 1 if it's in the deck as well. But looks like he's just going to go for the 3 Lampets, Ultra Ball, discarding. Hey, there's teammates. Discarding teammates and a Fighting Fury Belt. Going to get the Joltik down, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it might matter because, like I said, Shaman, Sky Return. But there's a Fighting Fury Belt, Hex Maniac, and another pass. Okay, so man, Jason got the turn 1 Hex Maniac again. We see a Town Map from Scott. Going to see a VS Seeker, Acrobike, Dimension Valley, Joltik, Battle Compressor, and I can't tell. The last card looks like a DCE. We see an Ultra Ball discarding a Lampet and a... What's the other card? What can it be? An Escape Rope. I think that's fine. If Scott can manage to turn 1 knockout on this Shaman, he is going to be golden. Like, if taking 2 prize cards, turn 1 is great. But here we see an Ultra Ball. Let's see what he decides to grab. A Pumpkaboo. Okay. So I'm going to put the Pumpkaboo down. Most likely, if he doesn't have a Pokemon, he definitely needs to put it down, so that way he does get benched if Jason does attack next turn with a Night Marcher. Okay, let's see, what else does Scott have? Does he have a supporter card? Looks like he's going to Puzzle Time, range top 3 cards of his deck. And man, that might be just the end of Scott's turn. We might see a Pumpkin come down. And a pass. Oh man, that's not good. Alright, so on Jason's turn, we see Sycamore discard his hand, drawing 7 new cards. And can he retreat the Shaman to take a knockout with the Joltik? We see a Trainer's Mail, look at the top 4 cards of his deck. Looks like he found something. A Sycamore for the following turn, which is great. Just in case Scott does Hex or something, and he can't play down Shamans. I don't think he even would have played Shamans down in this matchup, though. It's a big key, though. We see a Trainer's Mail, look at the top 4 cards of his deck. Probably trying to find a way to retreat this Shaman. There's a Target Whistle, which could become useful later on if Scott does put down a Shaman or discard one. We see double Puzzle Time. Going to get 2 cards out of his discard pile. There's an Ultra Ball and a Battle Compressor. The Battle Compressor could be used to discard cards out of his deck. I think he's already discarded 3 Lampets, so maybe there's a 4th one in there. And then maybe stuff he really doesn't need, like other Battle Compressors, or maybe, I don't know, the Gallades. The Gallade and Maxi might be good to discard. So we're going to see an Ultra Ball and a Trainer's Mill. Going to Trainer's Mill, look at top 4. There's a Judge, Ultra Ball, discarding a Judge, and a Dimension Valley. Going to get a Shaman. Now you're going to notice he's not going to put down the Dimension Valley, because this is going to make where Scott still needs a Dimension Valley to attack the following turn. So not only does he need the DC, but he needs a Dimension Valley, and we know there's one prize in Scott's discard pile. There's another Shaman coming down for Jason, though, which is kind of scary. We see a DC to the Shaman. We're going to see Sky return for 30, and going to promote the Shaman EX. Alright, so on Scott's turn, he gets a Dimension Valley, DCE, Trainer's Mill. He does have an Ultra Ball in his hand, I think. Maybe Scott wants to hit a Sycamore instead of playing, like, the Ultra Ball to get out of Shaman, but I think he might have to. Like I said, I think I see an Ultra Ball in there. Maybe the other card is like a Sycamore or something. Nope, just an Ultra Ball, discarding a VS Seeker and something else. Looks like a Shaman will come down. Yeah, Ultra Ball, discarding a VS Seeker, and the Fighting Free Ball he just got. Like I said, I don't think Scott really wanted to put down a Shaman. It's just another, like, liability, like a Lysander target. Alright, so we see Shaman setting up for 6. Can Scott get that Pokemon in the discard pile to knock out this Shaman EX? That's the big question. We see a Ultra Ball discarding a Joltik. And, oh, maybe not. Hold on. Okay, yep, Joltik and a Lampent. Alright, so I think there's at least 4 or 5 in there. Maybe a little bit more. But another Shaman coming down for Scott. And, oh, man, it's starting to become scary now. Gonna put 2 Shamans down. Jason did pick up one of his Shamans, so that's, you know, makes it where Scott can't Lysander the other one up, currently. Okay. Let's see. We're going to see a Fighting Free Belt to the active, and a Shaman setting up. Alright, he gets a Battle Compressor and a DC, so he will take a knockout this turn, and then next turn have a following knockout with the Pumpkin Boo. Okay, so we see a Lampent being discarded. We see another Lampent being discarded, and let's see what the other card's going to be. Maybe a Techie Supporter card. It's his teammates in discard pile. Not sure if it is. Let's see what he decides what the third card's going to be. Okay, he's going to look through his deck one more time, and let's see what card he decides to discard. Obviously, the Lampents are their easiest choice. Like, they're pretty much useless except for throwing in the discard pile because you can't bench them. They don't really matter. We see a Lysander being discarded. Maybe Scott wants to VS Seeker, bring up a Shaman, and take a knockout if he can, which is very cool. Okay, and we'll see a Night March taking a knockout on the Shaman EX, and Scott will go down to 4 prize cards. There we see a Hex Maniac. He hasn't played a support card yet, and there we see a knockout. Remember, he did Shaman and then decided to do that. He only took 1 prize card. Okay, there's the second one. I was going to say, yeah, he needs to take a second one. There we go. And on to Jason's turn, he gets a DC onto the Joltik. And we might just see a pass. Like, maybe he doesn't have a Sycamore in his hand. He does have a Judge, if I remember correctly. Looks like he is. Oh, no, he Ultra Balled away the Judge. That's what it was. Okay. We're going to see a Night March taking a knockout. I don't know how I feel not playing the Sycamore and not getting another Night Marcher to put it down for the turn. Alright, so on to Scott's turn. He has a VS Seeker. Going to grab the Lysander, bringing up that Shaman EX, most likely. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. Oh, and puts the DC to the active. And let's see what else does Scott have. He probably has an Ultra Ball, or Double Puzzle Time. This is great. He can get back like a Night Marcher and a DC, or like a Night Marcher and a VS Seeker. I don't know why he grabs a Night Marcher and a Lysander. He definitely should just grab like a VS Seeker, because that way you can grab whatever you need to with the VS Seeker the following turn. But that's he's going to grab those two. I mean, I guess it's fine. It's kind of saying like, hey Jason, you put down an EX Pokemon, I'm going to Lysander up the next turn. Okay. So let's see, Scott's going to take a knockout, going down to 2 prize cards. Let's see, Scott's debating something else. Target Whistle to bring out the Shaman. Oh man, that is dirty. Alright, so was he only 100. It actually doesn't knock out the Shaman. Wow. Okay, so it floats down to the active. Wow, Night March only did 100 damage. Oh my goodness. Alright, and we might see a Sky Return picking up that Shaman. Wow, I never thought I would see a Night March not knock out a Shaman. That is crazy. Alright, so he's going to look at Trainer's Mill, grabbing an Ultra Ball, discarding Dimension Valley and a Sycamore. Okay. Go and discard. Oh, no. Okay, there's a Shaman being discarded. Alright, there's another Shaman coming down as well. Like I said, Jason could Sky Return and pick up the Shaman with a bunch of damage on it, but he can't take a knockout. We'll see what happens. Target Whistle. Going to bring out the Joltik. Okay. And then we see oh my goodness. Okay, so what's going to happen is he target whistle the Joltik. He's going VS Seeker for Life Center, bring it up. Sky Return, taking a knockout, going down to 4 prize cards, while also picking up a Shaman with all that damage on it. That is crazy. But here we see a Battle Compressor discarding a Joltik, Zerosic, and a Dimension Valley. Alrighty. Now can Scott find a way to discard at least one Night Marcher to knock out a Shaman the following turn? Alright, so see Sky Return, knocking out the Joltik. I imagine Jason will send up. Ooh, I don't know he'll send up. I mean, sending up the Shaman is scary because it could potentially be knocked out. Joltik is automatically going to get knocked out. Who do you send up in this situation? Okay, looks like Shaman and Joltik. Okay, Shaman's going to come up. And can Scott discard a Night Marcher? That's the big question. Scott also has a Life Center, but there's a teammate's coming down. And with this, we'll definitely find, like, this has to find a way to discard some Pokemon. Yep, we see a VS Seeker, a Battle Compressor, and maybe a VS Seeker going to his hand. He doesn't have to show. He almost showed it. But yeah, he can grab the 2. Then he's going to play Battle Compressor, and he will take a knockout on the Shaman. And then Scott has a following DC Lysander in his hand. We know he has the Lysander because he puzzle time for a Lysander, and he took a DC off the prize card. So there's one in his hand, there's a Lysander. So he will take a knockout on the Shaman, and the next turn he can win. So Jason needs to judge this following turn to kind of stop Scott from winning the game at the following turn. So we'll see what happens. We'll see Scott use a Night March, taking a knockout. I'm not sure what he'll grab. But yep, just waiting for a Night March attack. And yep, there's a Night March, going to grab a Floatstone, and then probably the Acrobike, just in case Jason does play a Judge. There's a Lysander, DC, AZ, and Lampent prize in Jason's Jason's prize cards. We see a Floatstone. Okay. And like I said, Jason needs to find a Judge. If he doesn't, he can take a Night March knockout, but we know Scott has the win in his hand. We saw him take those cards for sure. There's a Joltik coming down. Maybe not. Joltik, DCE, Battle Compressor, going to discard 3 cards out of his deck. There's a Battle Compressor, Maxis, and then probably another useless card. Joltik, whatever, seems fine. Like I said, you really don't want Joltiks down because they can be a Lysander and knocked out with a Sky Return. But we're so late in the game, I don't think it's going to matter. And there's a Sycamore, so we know Scott has the game. Jason didn't even Sky Return. We know Scott has both the Lysander and the DC in his hand. If I remember correctly, I'm like 99% sure. There's a Trader's Mode, going to go top 4. Not going to get anything. Going to shuffle one more time. And yep, we're going to see a Night March. And here comes the DC, Lysander. And there we go, bringing out the Shaman, taking a knockout, and on to game number 3. Alrighty, so I mean, what did we learn? Well, whoever puts down the most Shaman is probably going to lose, I think. But Jason had a really weird, like, not attacking kind of stuff going on. Scott didn't really do that much damage. Like, I thought he would have won sooner, but he didn't have enough Night Marches in the discard pile. But on to game number 3, and let's see what Jason decides to do. Does he let Scott go first, or does he let himself go first? Like I said, I imagine he'll let Scott go first because, you know, the most Scott can do is just Hex Maniac, which is not that big of a deal. We saw Scott kind of draw it out of every single game so far. Maybe not so much game number 1, game number 2, but here we go. Scott's going to shuffle up one more time. Who do you want to win? Do you want Scott or do you want Jason to win in this top 4 match? And they'll advance on to the finals of the Tennessee States Championship, where the winner gets a bye at Nationals, 3 boxes, a cool playmat, and a trophy. Second place still gets 3 boxes as well. They get a finalist mat, no trophy, and no bye. So you can kind of see the difference there. But here we go. Scott is setting up. Going to get those 7 cards out. And let's see. Does Scott have a Pokemon? He does have one and a Shaman in his hand. Going to set up for 6. And let's see what happens. It looks like Jason is going to opt to go first. We see Dimension Valley, Sycamore, discard his hand. Drawn 7 new cards. So we see no turn 1 Hex Maniac from Jason like we've seen in the past couple of games. We see a Battle Compressor going to discard a Lampent. Probably another Lampent, and then maybe a teammate or something, or double Joltik. Maybe a lot of Lampents are prized already. He has some in his hand or something, because I imagine more Lampents would be coming down. So let's see a DC on the Pumpkaboo, and they're probably, okay, a puzzle time, rearrange top 3 cards of his deck. And let's see what else is going to happen. We might just see a pass on to Scott's turn. Alright, let's see. Can Scott get a knockout? The first knockout of the game. And he's going to escape rope, bring up the Pumpkaboo with the DC. Oh my goodness. Ultra Ball, discard teammates, and a Dimension Valley. Probably grabbing a Shaman EX, which I don't know how much I'll like if he does go for that. Unless he doesn't have a supporter card, then I'm okay with that. Looks like he's eyeballing Pumpkaboo, which is great. I like that a lot. We see another Battle Compressor. Going to discard 3 cards out of his deck. And let's see what he decides to discard. A Lampet. And what will the third card be? Let's see. What will it be? And a Sycamore. Alrighty. So maybe he has a VS Seeker in his hand. He's going to VS Seeker for Sycamore, play it, and draw 7 new cards. There's a Shaman. Ooh, so he has a Shaman this turn. And like I said, Shaman is kind of scary because, you take 2 free prize cards off of Shaman. We see a Fighting Feeble onto the Shaman, giving even more HP. So now it's up to 150 instead of 110. And we see a Joltik coming down, Shaman setting up, and Scott's putting down a bunch of Shamans, but it did pay off. He did get a Fighting Feeble on the other Shaman as well, and he has a DCE. He will Trainer's Mail one more time. Look at top 4. He has an Acrobike, Buddy, and I'm not sure what the other cards are. A Target Whistle. Ooh, Target Whistle could be fancy. Gonna grab the Acrobike. Save the Target Whistle for later. There's no Shamans in there. And that's definitely what you want a Target Whistle for Shamans. Then License it up and taking 2 prize cards off a Target Whistle. So, we'll see a Night March. I think this is like 100% taking a knockout. Discards an Acrobike, Ultra Ball, discarding a Joltik, and a Lampet. We're gonna grab a Pumpkaboo. Alrighty. And Scott's gonna be set up, ready to go. I mean, he's gonna take a knockout. Then can Jason find a DC to take a knockout on this Joltik? Yep, there's a Night March, and on Jason's turn, he's going to send the Pumpkaboo, Ultra Ball, 2 Lampets, and let's see, does he grab a Lysander? I mean, a Shaman, but nope, gonna grab a Pumpkaboo, okay. Maybe he already has a Supporter card in his hand, so, okay, and let's see what Jason decides to do. What's in his hand? What does he have? That's the big question. Alright, and there's a DC Shaman set up for 6, okay. Now, Scott next turn can Lysander that Shaman, take a knockout if he does have a DC Lysander. We'll see a Battle Compressor, discard 3 cards, or Jason will discard 3 cards out of his deck, discarding a Judge. And maybe just the Judge. Maybe he can Judge Scott, put him at a bad 4 cards, and he can't draw into a DC and win that way. We see a Judge, not a Hex Maniac, a Maxi, sorry, I don't know why I say Hex Maniac. And let's see what the other card's going to be. Looks like it's just going to be those 2. Maybe he needs everything else in his deck, so just going to discard the Judge and the Maxis, okay. Let's see, there's a Lysander, going to bring up the Shaman EX, and he's going to Night March. And let's see how many Night March are in the discard pile. Uh-oh, it doesn't seem like he had enough Night March in the discard pile. That's 6, 12, 13, 14 maybe? Yes, only 140 damage. Wow, so he was short a Night Marcher to knock out the Shaman. Was he a VS Seeker for Scott? Oh man, that Fighting Fury Bell just saved that Shaman. Looks like we'll see a VS Seeker for Sycamore. Okay. Do a Sycamore, discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. Can Scott find a way to retreat this Shaman? He does have a Flowstone, but that Shaman already has a Fighting Fury Belt on it. We see an Acrobike. Let's see what he decides to discard. A VS Seeker, okay. And does Scott have a DCE? And if he does he just retreat the Shaman, or does he Sky Return? I imagine he retreats and just takes a Night March, just Night Marches the Joltik, or Pumpkaboo while he can. We see a Trainer's Mail. Look at the top 4 cards of his deck. Let's see, he's gonna grab a Zerosic. Okay, he's gonna grab the Zerosic, maybe discard a DC the next turn to make things interesting. Let's see, what does Scott decide to do? He's already played a Sycamore, so he can't, like, Zerosic his own Shaman or something. But there we see a double puzzle time, and this will grab an Escape Rope to get that Shaman out of the active spot, but it will promote a Pumpkaboo, but at least Scott can take a knockout this turn. Alright, so Night March taking a knockout, Scott go down to 4 prize cards, and on to Jason's turn, let's see what happens. He's going to DC Shaman, VS Seeker for a Judge, and put both players at 4 cards. Jason knew that Scott had a VS Seeker in his hand, and I think there's a teammates in Scott's discard pile. So if that were to happen, Scott could just then just double puzzle time and get any 2 cards out of his discard pile if he wants to, or any 2 cards out of his deck. Whatever he wants to, he could have done it. And let's see, over to Jason's turn still. We see an Ultra Ball discarding Puzzle Time and a Battle Compressor, grabbing the Pumpkaboo. Okay. Alright. And let's see what else happens. We might just see a Night March knocking out the Joltik, going down to 5 prize cards to Scott's 4. We see a Joltik come up, and on to Scott, he has 5 cards in his hand. I think I see a VS Seeker in his hand, and if that's what that is great. VS Seeker for the teammates. And you're going to get any 2 cards out of his deck, and let's see what he decides to get. Maybe a VS Seeker and a DCE, so that way he can attack for the turn, while also having a VS Seeker for the next turn for another teammates if he wants to, and then saving the puzzle times for later on if that's what he wants to do. Alright, so we discarded those 2, or going to grab those 2, not discard them, sorry about that. Now the only scary thing is that Scott promoted the Joltik, and if Jason wants to, he can Sky Return to knock out this Joltik for 30 HP, or for 30 damage. So here comes Shaman on to Jason's turn. We're going to see a BS Seeker for a Judge. Going to put both players at 4 cards once again. And can Jason find another Pokemon? If he doesn't, he leaves himself in a weird position because he gets Sky Return for 30, knocking out this Joltik. But if Scott has a Pokemon or DC, he can just win the game. But they were seeing Ultra Ball, going to get a Joltik out, so he can't get benched this game, which is great. And I imagine Jason's going to send up the Pumpkaboo. Like I said earlier, you don't want your Joltik to get knocked out by a Sky Return, especially since that one Shaman has so much damage on it. We see a Pumpkaboo coming down. Scott's going to look at Jason's discard pile, see what's all in there. It is now 3 to 4 own prize cards, but if Scott can take a knockout, then the following turn, Lysander up a Shaman to win the game, or like Target Whistle, Lysander to win the game, that would be great. We see a Battle Compressor from Scott, and let's see what 3 cards he decides to discard. Probably cards he really doesn't need. There's a Double Dimension Valley and something else. Maybe another Battle Compressor. It looks like a Hex Maniac, maybe. I can't really tell. It's some kind of item card. I think it's Hex Maniac. But I see a Sycamore. He discards a Target Whistle. Maybe there's no Shamans in the discard pile, because if there was one, he definitely would have Target Whistle to bring it out. We see a DC going to the active. And we'll see a Night March for the knockout. Now, once again, when we go back into Jason's turn, he can put down the Shaman, but if he doesn't, he could just lose the game if Scott has a DC to knock out this Joltik. We see a DC come down. Let's see what else does Jason have. He's going to look at his discard pile, see what he's played. Alright, and it's going to look through Scott's discard pile, see what's all he's played. I don't even remember how many DCs have been played. Like, it's been such a long time. I didn't keep counting my fingers like I usually do. But let's see, Jason's going to play Sycamore, going to discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. It looks like Target Whistle doesn't break. Yeah, okay, we're good. Never mind. So Sycamore, Fighting Free Belt, discarding a Shaman and a Trainer's Mail. Now, if Jason... Okay, never mind. Good. I was going to say, if he just puts down, like, not a Pokemon and just, like, relies on this Fighting Free Belt, it still could be Shaman, like, Sky Return for a knockout. But there we see a Night March knocking out the Pumpkaboo. And on Scott's turn, it's 3 to 2 in prize cards. If Scott can get like a Xerosic, Sky Return, there's a Lysander, bringing up the Pumpkaboo, DCE. We'll see a Ultra Ball discarding a Xerosic and a Ultra Ball. And if this guy's a Night Marcher, oh man, I don't see how Scott doesn't win the game now. Because what's going to happen is Scott's going to Sky Return for 30 damage, take a knock on the Joltik, put the DC back into his hand, and then all he has to do next turn is draw into DC, and he wins this game. So let's see what happens. On a Jason turn, does he have another VS Seeker for a Judge to disrupt Scott one more time? But Jason still has to take 3 knockouts to Scott's 1. Oh man, it looks like Scott is going to win this game though. That turn one, like that early turn on the Shaman that didn't knock it out is probably the most crucial part of this game when Jason whiffed that. Because if Jason were to hit that knockout, he could take his last prize card right now to win the game. Was he a VS Seeker? Okay. Like I said, he could VS Seeker for Judge, put Scott down, and that's what we're going to see. And he's, Jason's just got to hope that Scott does not draw into this DC. If Scott does, Jason loses this game because Scott only has 1 prize card left. Does Scott hit the DC 1, 2, 3, 4? I'm not sure if he has it or not. We see a timeout coming out from Jason. Taking a knockout, sending the Joltik. And does he have it? He doesn't have it right now. There's a Flowstone, okay. Was he a Buddy Rescue? Putting the pumpkin back into his hand. Trainer's Mail. Grabbing the Acrobike, okay. And let's see what happens. We're going to see an Acrobike. 1, 2. Going to grab, I'm not sure, a Shaman drawn up to 6. Okay. Let's see, can Scott find the DC or not? There's a VS Seeker for the teammates or Sycamore, whatever he needs, and he'll get the DC and win the game, taking the top 4 match against the Night March Mirror Match. That was a pretty crazy game. Jason won game 1, but then Scott goes on to win game 2 and 3. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this Night March Mirror Match. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Oh, there's Jason again, his mat and his box. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Alrighty.